This is my video recording for case study number 2. I selected chapter 7 from the Kowalski text to analyze using the ethical paradigm. Lattimore is a seasoned elementary school principal with 22 years of experience under his belt. He voluntarily asked to be placed at Holmes Elementary School, a school with several challenges around out of school suspensions and retention rates. Lattimore left one of the most high performing elementary schools to come to Holmes, which was shocking to the senior leadership at the district level. Lattimore spent the first year at Holmes building relationships with parents, students, and staff. Overall, he was very well liked by all stakeholders, especially during his first year. After his first year, which was spent building relationships and establishing rapport with parents, students, and staff, Lattimore tried to shift school policies and practices to begin addressing the alarming suspension and retention rates. The staff was well aware of the issues at Holmes, however, they were very resistant to changes and reforms that Lattimore suggested. Eventually, Lattimore became frustrated with his staff's resistance to change and decided to make changes anyway. He moved forward with two big changes that would address the suspension rate and retention rate. He was able to get support for his changes from district leadership and from the school board. In August, right before school started back, Lattimore sent a letter to the staff explaining what the new changes would be. A large percentage of the staff was irate at Lattimore's decision to institute changes that they were vehemently against. The staff began to retaliate against Lattimore by complaining to the superintendent and to the school board. Eventually, many members of the staff began to complain to parents and managed to generate support with many of the parents. Lattimore was shocked by the parents who began to complain about his changes, as they had always been supportive of him. Lattimore believed that his teachers were manipulating and possibly bullying parents into speaking out against his changes. Alarmed by the conflict at Holmes, the superintendent spoke with Lattimore about the complaints. Lattimore still had support from the superintendent's office, but the superintendent began to explore ways of quelling the growing conflict at Holmes. She asked Lattimore if he would consider a reassignment to a district level position, to which he refused. The superintendent made it clear that she supported Lattimore no matter whether or not he chose to stay at Holmes. The superintendent expressed her two fears to Lattimore, which were that parents were becoming increasingly involved in this conflict, and the second fear being that at some point the teachers union would become involved in the conflict and it would escalate. Kowalski's first step for determining the ethical implications of a decision is to first determine what the primary problem is. In order to make this determination, Kowalski recommends clearly identifying the deviation between what should be happening and what is actually happening. This case study is particularly layered, which makes it very challenging to distill down to the actual problem. Based on Lattimore's actions, I feel that he is viewing this situation through the lens of the ethic of the profession. According to Shapiro and Stefkovich, the ethic of the profession involves effective educational leaders acting ethically and according to professional norms to promote each student's academic success and well-being. The problem that Lattimore is contending with in this scenario are the high rate of out-of-school suspensions and the high rate of first-grade retentions. And using Kowalski's method for determining the problem, there is a deviation between should and actual, because what should be happening is a lower rate of out of school suspensions as well as a low rate of first grade retention, but what is actually happening is a high rate of both. Both of these problems are student centered and should be the priority for an effective administrator if we are looking at this through the lens of the ethic of the profession. Lattimore is clear on what his priorities are, which involve improving student outcomes in these two areas. Lattimore also acted ethically when he solicited input and feedback from his staff on ways of addressing the suspension and retention rates. He made a good faith effort to include his staff in the decision making process, especially given the fact that he was the newcomer to the school. By soliciting feedback from the staff, Lattimore also was acknowledging the tenure and expertise of his staff. However, once he realized that he was not gaining traction with them, he made the ethically appropriate decision to put the well being of students ahead of his staff. By following the ethic of the profession paradigm, Lattimore kept his obligation to students at the center of his decision making. I imagine that Lattimore's personal and professional code of ethics, which are part of the ethic of the profession paradigm, made it easier for Lattimore to be resolute in his decision making amidst the backlash that he faced.